Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the disclosure of results of the first quarter of 2023 of the Ourofino Animal Health. I'm Mariana Anselmi. I'm part of the communication team. This transmission is being recorded and will be available on our website with re.com and on YouTube. At the end of the presentations, we'll have a round of Q&A. You can be part, you can write in our Q&A area. We have a legal disclosure to start with. This presentation brings declarations of future events that are subject to uncertainties and risks, and there are presuppositions and calculations and provisions. Future events include information about our intentions, beliefs, and current beliefs. And those are from our board of directors. Informations and declarations include information about operational results or presumed, as well as declarations that are preceded, that are followed, or will continue waiting, pretending, intending, in other words, and declarations and statements about the future are not assurance of results. We have predictions because we are talking about future events. They may occur or not. Future results and the generation of value for shareholders may vary from those suggested herein. Many of the factors that will determine those results and values are beyond our control and capacity for forecasting. Our legal disclosure ends here, and we start with the group that will be part of the presentation today. Kleber Gomes, CEO, Marcelo Silva, IR and Financial, and Angelo Melo, Strategic Development and New Businesses. Welcome all. And I would like to pass the floor to our CEO, Mr. Kleber Gomes. Floor is yours. Thank you for the great introduction. I would like to welcome everyone that is keeping up with us. I would like to a history, if you will. It is a great happiness to have closed 2022 with official numbers of SINGAN, the official trade union of our area, the greatest actually institution of the vet animal area in Brazil. We had great movimentation. We have had a sector that in a short term was able to bring us back to the top, showing a lot of the work that we have done in the last 3 years that have brought a lot of learning. We have been certified by PGTW, a good classification in the awards by PGTW. 2023, nevertheless, we still have to keep up with those performances, levels of performance that hopefully will keep us as an outstanding industry company in Brazil. We had 2 launches in Brazil this semester. Company animals, we have invested a lot. We had a lot of silviculture last year. Mr. Angelo Melo will comment on that. And commenting on that, furthermore, we are working hard on ESG. Our sustainability report has been released along with our financial report with a review of the material themes that we are solidly working not only this year but in the future. The quarter didn't have a net revenue lesser than last year. I'd like to start talking about the relevance of the last years, a sequence of quarters that were very positive, growingly with sustainability, accompanied by great financial indicators, our point of management, and we are trusting our drivers of growth and the management that is being worked on. The quarter per se is a set of points that is affecting the world and Brazil. We had some additional points in our area. The economy, agriculturally speaking, a lot of uncertainty, not only in Brazil, but worldwide with inflation, high interest rates, and we are not exempted from that. We are in a situation with capital costs very costly, and that impacts, we have to adapt, and that has to be done in our management, say planning for that. So in the retail, you have seen declarations, statements from companies that are struggling more or others less, and retail per se, but our segments that work with more tighter margins, and that kind of puts us under a burden. We have less stockage and more margins. It's very objective once that the inventory reaches a certain level, and the dynamics must take us to less procurement and more management in other areas. Other points that have to do with the trade union as well. These discussions were actually clarifying in terms of the effect of things that are happening in other segments in Brazil and worldwide. We know of other companies in the pet retail that had better results on account of inventory management. It is healthy if you think in terms of sustainability of business per se, the distribution, the ends, especially at this point when we have interest rates very high. And furthermore, we had a problem with exports of beef to China due to the mad cow disease. The results among the countries were all affected because there was a embargo, and that affects the investments and the husbandry and agriculture directly. Factors that I believe brought a diminishing of the rhythm of the activity in our sectors and our sector and in other companies as well. We are aware of what we have to do. We are following our strategies play by play with our purposes and our values, knowing that we want to be the top of mind company, the company that sells the best products, that is strong and consistent. And even when it comes to accountancy and other points. As I mentioned, myself, we had quarters that were quite good, but this one was a little more burdening in terms of traction. We will regain our higher tiers. We'll do what we have always done, checking our expenses, our structure. We tighten the belt, we know that. I apologize, the transmission was cut off for a while. Please bear with us, we'll be back in a moment.
Vou pedir um momento a vocês, nós estamos com um problema de conexão com o áudio do Kleber, então, enquanto a gente se reorganiza aqui para restabelecermos a conexão com ele, eu gostaria de lembrar a todos que o nosso espaço de perguntas e respostas está aberto, então, caso você tenha alguma pergunta, é só utilizar esse nosso espaço de Q&A aqui no webinar. Para dar sequência aqui às nossas apresentações, eu já gostaria de chamar o Ângelo Melo, que é o nosso diretor da área de desenvolvimento estratégico e de novos negócios. O Ângelo vai dar sequência ao que o Kleber estava comentando com vocês no início da apresentação sobre os nossos lançamentos de produtos. Ângelo, à vontade, é com você.
Muito obrigado, Mariana. Bom dia a todos. Um prazer estar de volta aqui mais uma vez, falando dos lançamentos dos nossos produtos que fizemos agora no primeiro semestre e dando sequência ao nosso fluxo de lançamentos. Ano passado nós fizemos um número razoável de lançamentos e esse ano estamos planejando fazer da mesma forma. E os lançamentos que a gente fez nesse primeiro trimestre foram dois produtos importantes para a linha de animais de companhia. É uma linha que é uma linha importantíssima no nosso planejamento estratégico, e os produtos que nós lançamos foram o Bunny, que é um endectocida, então é um produto que controla os parasitas, tanto os internos quanto os externos dos animais, né? E o Bunny é um endectocida para gatos. Então, ele é o primeiro endectocida realmente completo para o controle de parasitas internos e externos dos gatos, porque existiam outros endectocidas no mercado para gatos, mas não eram produtos tão completos quanto o Bunny, produtos que apresentam um espectro bem mais reduzido do que o Bunny. Então, o Bunny, ele é importante, é um lançamento importante porque gato é a população de animais de companhia que mais cresce no Brasil. O Brasil já tem 27 milhões de gatos, e hoje os gatos já representam a metade da população de animais de companhia. Esse crescimento está muito em função da verticalização das cidades, com menores espaços para os animais de companhia nos apartamentos, né? E também o ritmo de vida intenso nas grandes cidades. O gato é um animal que se adapta melhor a ficar sozinho no decorrer do dia, ele não depende tanto do seu tutor para caminhar, passear na rua, então é um animal mais independente, né? Então, e para fazer a entrega do lançamento do Bunny, nós tivemos que superar muitas dificuldades, porque alguns componentes do Bunny têm alguma incompatibilidade entre eles, e a nossa equipe de formulação teve que trabalhar bastante, mas aí mostra uma das expertises da Ourofino, né, que é a nossa capacidade de desenvolvimento de formulações, e a gente superou esses desafios, e nós estamos confiantes que a gente vai conseguir uma patente para o Bunny com esse produto. Então, foi um desafio em desenvolvimento, mas realmente a gente trouxe um produto inovador que vai resultar uma patente para a companhia. Outro produto que nós lançamos nesse primeiro trimestre foi o Longil Cães, é um suplemento em pasta. Ele é uma continuação da nossa linha de
canines, a continuation of our line of supplements that we started last year. We are talking about a segment that grows in a greater number than any other. And this concept, it's good for myself, for my son, for my pet. It grows even in human medicine and animal medicine as well. What is the importance of paste lojo? It shows the capacity that placing the clients mainly in as the center of our purpose. There are animals that adapt better, other animals adapt better to the paste. More animals are more debilitated, so they need the formulation in the shape of a paste. We will continue in that pathway. We are paving a way. We are just starting. We are very trusting, and we are sure that we will grow. That's what I have for now. I'm available for questions. And I would like to ask you, Mariana, please take the floor. Thank you, Angelo. We'll keep with Marcelo Silva, our Director of IR and Finances. The floor is yours. Good morning, Mariana. Good morning, all. It's a pleasure to be here. I am very grateful for those who are keeping up with us. We know we had a technical problem, but it's over. We have a combination of factors that were unfavorable. Not exactly what we're expecting in 2023 with Marcal. We were expecting a more complex due to the macroeconomic scenario with interest rates more higher, OPEX, and mainly the mega stores in retail. Taking that into consideration, we had bad news. I think that somehow brought some pessimism to the business. We can talk about the medical disease that held back. There was on hold for clear reasons, the embargo. We had drought in Rio Grande do Sul, a very important state for us, a leader state in a series of leader products, especially for parasites, influenza. That brings actually concerns. Costs of grains are more expensive. We have an exchange with the agriculture. Some were more comfortable, some others less, but that was important to remind you that we have the arroba, which is a measure, is currently in 270. There wasn't a drop. The cost and the proportion was actually eye to eye. So some cooperatives were actually giving up on the leverage. We had some situations that were very developed, Rio Grande, especially some of them, Langiru, for instance, from Rio Grande, a scenario that was more complex and potentializing or in other words, potentialized by political problems and the political scenario in Brazil. We are expecting a regaining of the growth in the second semester. We had a great harvest of grains, output, inputs, we are actually expecting to overcome the diminishing in sales in other areas with this growth. The first quarter of the second semester might be better, but the second will certainly be better. Some other important points is that the company is very solid, capital structure that is very comforting in a scenario that is unfavorable economically speaking. We had cash flow generated in a very good level. We have healthy levels of financial leverage below the Selic rate that allows us to keep on growing and investing in our business. We are going to the evolution of the revenue and the gross margin, a drop of 17.4 in the first three trimester of 22 compared to 2023, but we expect growth and they dropped from 44 to 44.9 for two down to 44.3. We have less gross margin for products and a fixed cost less diluted, avoiding the void in the for the production floor, manufacturing floor. We have more production. We have a lot of what is happening here, our forecast for the semester. Besides the macro perspective, we have lines that were growing a lot in the last years. RTF, IVF, artificial fertilization. Now we have a husbandry in low levels, diminishing reproduction, protocols dropping in numbers, semen market diminishing in this with a drop of -8 in 2022 and is slightly higher now in 2023. That affected by the embargo and the need to bring relief for OPEX, especially for retail. Nevertheless, there was a growth and a better profit. The gross margin down to 36.7, down from 44. We are looking at those products with less cuts. Company animals. We started talking about those in retail. We have cash flow with better performance that can be healthy for the health of the whole chain. Nevertheless, we have to look at certain points specifically. Purchases will be probably more, nevertheless, less volume that we leads us on to looking at OPEX from a different perspective. It's a sector that is impacted by the macroeconomics. Since last year, since the first fourth trimesters, we have pre and post pandemics. We have habits that are coming back. The consumption of services and goods that actually starts giving more traction to the market. The humanization of the pets and the care of those pets, such pets, will bring more needs for healthcare, animal welfare, and we see ahead a robust line of products, supplements, um, cells, the animals that need to live more, and that has to do with the company developing sub-segments with this greater need for welfare, international operations. We had a mix less favorable in this semester, with a drop in the gross margin in Colombia. Colombia is going through months that are changing politically and economically, that affected the valuation, appreciation of the local currency, the American dollar as well. That is a unit that brings promises growth with Mexico, Colombia, and other countries launching new products with the filing and registration of products that will increase our portfolio. SDA of the trimester didn't suffer any drop, 87.20, 87.8, and the company is working with consumption, with the body of our councils and the index of profitability. We are looking our EBITDA rates, always looking for continuous development and excellence in our operations. We, even with the unfavorable scenario, we had R&D that kept on developing new products. We have 2 new products that have been announced. We have been maintaining a tier of 7.5% of revenue, 7.8 down to 7.4, that due to less sales, but nominally, face value, we have the idea of decelerating our agenda of products. The combination of less sales flow, less floor plan costs brought costs of 3 million against 30 million of last year. That was a major drop, and the company is working hard to take EBITDA back to its previous values. We are maintaining the sustainability in terms of cash flow, more favorable capital generation. Compared to the first try of 2022, we had a growth of 30%, 70 million reais, a generation of cash flow of 30 million. We ended this semester with 34 million. We are growing, that shows a growth, and we aim to keep on growing in this sense. We have OPEX, we have the average receipt levels. We commented on previous semesters during the pandemic. We had investments, additional investments, especially when it came to considering India and China. We are working with a scenario that is more favorable. We didn't have problems with resources or any other problem. Therefore, there is a more favorable period. It is promises growth during the first and second trimesters of the second semester. There was a generation of cash flow very robust that contributed to the net revenue. EBITDA growing very comfortably, 0.94 in the second semester, with capital costs higher than last year, still below CDI, that is below 295. That gives us a comfortable position. It doesn't concern us financially. Our investment is in innovation, in new products. We have the resources to invest in new products and new launches. Capital structure, still on that, 73% in the long run. And a major part of that actually planned over a period of 5 As to the end of my presentation, we had results that caught me by surprise. We expected initially a opening of the market of a greater order, but it didn't happen. We were looking at our clients, the trade union, other companies of the sector, but we are working solidly to regain the growingly numbers, looking at the strategies, maintaining our sales force engaged. We are very successful, 4,000 clients in Fortaleza monthly, a line of products with a coverage that is very comprehensive, a portfolio of products with an access to the market that is very differentiated. And we got to major properties, company animals. Just on a final note, we had accommodation of inventory. We expect more in the second semester, Mexico, Colombia, and the increase in the coverage of in terms of products in the market. Financially, we are well structured, structure of capital, and in that meant in the long run, which is very positive. Mariana, floor is yours. We are open for Q&A now. Thank you, Marcelo. And I reinforce the invitation for you to send your questions in the Q&A room. Mr. Kleber Gomes, if you would please lead this moment. Can you all hear me now? Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. I apologize with the there was a problem with the translation that was locally, it was here. We had to come back anyway, but I will go back to what was happening. As the CEO of the company, our solid commitment that even during adjustments as now, we are to deliver excellent results. We are working strongly on that. We depend on the market, undoubtedly. And the market is very complex. It's happening worldwide. Adjustment of cash flow, new capital costs, and it's no different for us. Our opinion is that it is passing. It's not here to stay. Things will change. Questions. We had some questions that came from Mr. Matheus Klima, saying that they are doing a solid work on Ourofino. Thank you for paying attention to Ourofino. I'll try to summarize because some of the questions we cannot respond openly. Guidance and gross margin and We prioritize the good work, delivering results as we have done. We do not have the habit of working differently than that. Let me see what else we have here. Investments in capital goods, CapEx, as we know, that will be a guidance. In general terms, the company had a lot of investments in the past, and we are now um, uh, having the results of what we sold in the past. We had capital growth very representative. Another question: would you comment on market share, global market share, and the strategy of the company and the uh, main players? We have 9.5% in Brazil. In Mexico and Colombia, less than that. In terms of market share, in the last few years, we are the company that has been on growing more than any other. We do not have this perspective of market share globally. These strategies are competitive. The strategy of our company is very clear. We communicated that very clear. We have the Ourofino Day with investors. We aim at production animals in productivity in the fields. The bovine culture we can improve. It requires investment. Our points brought by Marcelo, our market, so we have more or less half the population of the United States of America and 1/10 of the market. There is a major potential there. And prioritization wise, we are focusing on Latin America. This is because Latin America is 16.5% of the production of protein to the world, and we are keeping on growing. And we have plans up to 2050. We have incremental plans for the tropical climate areas. Certainly, we try to be ahead of our competition. They think of more temperate climates. We intend on maintaining our growth. We have Mitsui, 16% of the company is their share. And we are looking at Asia, Middle East. We understand that we'll have opportunities there, but we are studying these pathways to grow structuredly, in a structured way. We are also looking at more technology, innovative technology from Japan and traditional countries in terms of important technologies. These are our strategies based upon our purposes, value, and the desire to be the most admired company in Latin America. And we intend on being the company that keeps on growing. How we see the scenario of debtors, the provision, there was a default in the order of 34 points. As we talk about scenarios that are complete in the macroeconomic scenario with costs very high. I don't know if you did get that in the beginning. Our profit rates are different. We have a commercial model that is different, very pulverized in production animals, bovine culture. We sell to husbandry and agriculture, uh, retail, and the average ticket is lower. That may actually have a difference in terms of the risk. In general terms, we have been having 3 years that are very productive. We didn't even were required to have revision of any point of our strategic plan. Along with the economic conditions, we have the regional points, such as the drought in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, the culture of rice and other cereals. We have to pay attention to that. We have seen other relevant products in other areas. We have our credit and debt collecting very robust. It is a diminishing in the risk that is very relevant, and we are very attentive to the changes that the market is suffering. We are not anticipating any problem that is of concern. André Prates, an updating of Mitsui and the synergy with Mitsui. I think we are at a very early stage to have any opinion or statement in that sense. I told you I went to Japan. I traveled around Asia. We were with Mitsui, the fourth greatest conglomerate in Brazil, invested in 500 companies around the world. Nevertheless, we keep on planning. We have more of a forecast for the future, especially when it comes to Japanese companies in terms of partnership in products. It takes time. The filing in Brazil, the time for filing, and the final registration and the final documentation. On another note, by the end of the year, we want to have a plan for entering other markets in Asia. A lot happening in terms of gains and synergies. At this point, it's difficult to talk because the term is very short for us to have an opinion based upon that. Another question. It's an anonymous question. The person is asking if we could explore further the leverage loss, the consortium of the Ourofino and net revenue. Those are good points in general terms. We are a company focused on growth. The pharma and vet companies and those two different industries work on a different basis than us. Even commercial expenses, they have a very important component. Our employees are based upon a labor contract based upon the labor framework of Brazil that represents a fixed cost that is relevant. Therefore, when we have losses, it affects directly the contracts of our employees and their lives. What happened this year was a set of points that were unexpected, but we still are convicted that it will all will suffer adjustment and will deleverage the company at certain points, but we keep on planning for leverage with fixed costs significant. From what I see, there is an end of Q&A. If you want to go to the closing of the session, I would like to, on that note, thank all for keeping up with us on a daily basis and for the trustworthiness that you have invested in us and the believing in our potential, our profits, our board has a vision of long-term, very positive market perspectives, and a question that was very specific that brought together factors that we weren't expecting. But I trust our board of directors, our managers, our sales team that makes the whole of the difference in the field, our external team, and our capacity of adaptation. Thank you all for being here with us on this call for results. Thanks, Kleber, the participation of Angelo, Mr. Angelo and Marcelo, and I thank all that kept up with us on this day, and our relations IR team is always available to clarify doubts that you may have throughout the next upcoming months. You have the recording of this session that's available on ir.ourofino.com and Ourofino on YouTube, youtube.com.ourofino.com, maintaining our commitment to our purposes and our values. Thank you all, and see you next time.